Good morning, everybody. We are very pleasant that you stay here in Barcelona, especially in the Autonomous University of Barcelona, that it's a place that we are organizing this Congress. Well, we are going to begin at the beginning of the conference, and I have the pleasure to present Montserrat Balagueró, that is a Vice President of the Foundation Universitat of Barcelona, that is located here in the School of Tourism. And then we are going to proceeding with the conference. Montse, you have the...
Thank you very much, Dr. Cànoves. Dear friends and colleagues, in this opening ceremony of the 9th International Conference of Tourism and Hospitality between China and Spain, I just wanted to say a few words on behalf of the Universitat Autònoma de Barcelona and its foundation, which I am representing here as the Vice President. First of all, I would like to welcome you all and say thank you for having decided to register for this conference and to come to Barcelona and to our university and to our campus in Vilaterra, and more specifically to the School of Tourism and Hotel Management, the school that we are in now, and where the conference will take place. We are celebrating this academic event here, among other reasons, because our university gives great importance to international relations and international academic events, and more specifically to those events related to China, a country where we, as a university, have a growing number of agreements. These agreements have facilitated an increasing number of international exchanges between us and Chinese universities, both for teachers and students. The presence of Chinese students in our university, but especially here in our tourism and hospitality degrees, has not stopped growing in recent years, both at an undergraduate and postgraduate level, and this trend is very clear year by year. Recognizing this, we have begun offering Chinese language introduction courses to our students and teachers. We should also mention our highly successful official masters, which are taken by many Chinese students as a further example of the strong relationship that we have and wish to continue enjoying with China. And just to finish, I should say that when we were invited to organize this event together with the Department of Geography, through our colleagues at the University of the Balearic Islands, we did not hesitate for a moment and immediately began working to make the event successful. I hope then that you will enjoy your stay here in our school and over the next few days. I also hope that you will find all the academic and social events that our team has been enthusiastically preparing for you both enjoyable and fruitful. Once again, a very warm welcome and thank you for coming.
Ladies and gentlemen, señoras, señores, 女士们、先生们, welcome to Barcelona. I am very excited because now we have the 9th International Conference on Tourism and Hospitality in our famous city, Barcelona. And this is the effort of 3 teams. We have UAB team, led by Tolo Deya. We have UAB team, led by Professor Gemma Cànoves. Also, we have the team from China, is South China University of Technology, led by Professor Jiang Jinbo Jiang. Let's thank them. Just to be short, 9 years ago, I was thinking to do something for these 2 countries because I have been working in Baleares, in the University of Balearic Islands, as a professor of computer science. I'm not from tourism. From computer science, I wanted to do something for these 2 countries. So I think the most important industry in Spain is tourism. So that is why I started this conference. So we got a great support all these years from different universities, and we continue now. I think we have a great mission, even we are not a large conference. But think about the status of Spain and China in the industry of the tourism. We are the leading countries, these two, in this industry. So what we do is very important for the development of the tourism in the world. Do you agree? So I think that we have a mission. We should guide the correct direction. We should do something to let the tourism to be good for the world, for our environment, for our future, for our people, for the peace. So I think that even we are not a big conference, but we have a great mission. And I welcome all of you to continue to achieve this mission with us, with all of us. So I also want to mention that all these years, we got support from the industry, from our universities, and every time we get great support. So I want to welcome you to contact the industry in your country, in a local government, and to support this conference. So we do need support. And also, more people involved, we have more impact. So all ideas, in my slide I said that all ideas are welcome. You can contact our organizers if you have better ideas, or you have somebody want to join our work, or some universities or industrial groups, they want to join the effort. Just let us know. And one exciting news I want to tell all of you is next year is 2020. Think about this number, okay? 2020, I think we meet this number also only once in our lives. So 2020 is an important year for our conference. And this will be the 10th anniversary of this conference, the 10th time we organize this. So our Chinese responsible for organizing the conference, Professor Jinbo Jiang, already decided to go with the university, normal university of Shanghai. And actually, they are the first universities in China who have the tourism study. So they are the pioneer in tourism study. And also, we will have UAB, we have Gemma, that they have the first tourism study in Spain. So these two would be our column to organize the next conference. So the conference will be in Shanghai, and also we have a tentative date. It's between November 5 to 10. Why do we choose these days? Because these days would have a China Import Expo in Shanghai. So it would be a lot of enterprises would come to Shanghai. So that would be a good time for us to have this conference. So I welcome all of you to go to Shanghai. So that's my presentation. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Yuhua, for the invitation to go to Shanghai on the 2020. We will work about it. Well, I'm Gemma Cànoves. I have to present the conference, to organize this conference, and I want to agree all the people that has collaborated to have finally this conference in this moment. First, at the team of the UAB, it's Maria Noguera, that is the director of the school, Francesc Romagosa, that is a professor of the school, Aureli Lojo, that is the organizer, and you know because they send a lot of mails to you, because all the things will be okay, and then this is Aureli Lojo, and especially also to Minge Tian, that has to collaborate with us and organize all the things. And if you have any problems of English and Chinese, we don't speak Chinese, just English and Spanish and Catalan, but Minge can speak Chinese. And then this is a good collaboration with us. And especially to the team of the Balearic Islands, that has been a strong collaborator with us. And also the special team of China. Then we are here to present our ideas of Spain and China, and the relation between China and Spain in relation of the tourism. For us, the tourism it's an important output, because it's the 50% of the gross product in Spain, and it's quite important. And we want to maintain this product, and we want to maintain the quality of the tourism, especially the quality of the tourism. And I say that because here it's a bit, I think it's a quite important aspect that the tourism is located in Barcelona. You know, Barcelona is a big place of tourism, and normally we receive millions of tourists during the year. And we have problems with these tourists, but we are directed to solve these problems. We we will think about how to solve these problems. That it's important the grow up of the tourists, but also it's important the quality of the tourism. And also it's important because we have here the students. I am very pleasant to have the students because they are the future of this project. The tourism is related with the students that they study tourism and they apply better situations of this activity. Well, since that, I have to present Mr. Octavi Bono, that is the General Director of Tourism of the Catalan government, of the Generalitat de Catalunya, and he's going to present the reps, how to go straight on at the future of 2020 in tourism.
Okay. So, thank you. Good morning. I suppose I have to say ni hao better than good morning today, no? Or at least bon dia, good morning, ni hao. I want to thank the invitation, because for us it's an opportunity in order to share with you how we are, what kind of things are we facing, and how we are trying to find solutions for the challenges that we have on the table. I would like to begin the conference by underlining the fact that, as you know, we are confronting new times in which we will be experiencing new scenarios and new contexts. New times which, in relation to tourism, have also generated new paradigms. Our sector is still a young industry if we compare it to other productive sectors, but it's certainly going through a time when its presence is more evident than ever in the public perception. And unfortunately, this presence is not always a positive one. Tourism is important for Catalonia. It's like this? Yeah. It is a key sector in the region, in our economy, generating around 12% of our GDP. Some 450,000 people are employed in the industry, accounting early 14% of all jobs in Catalonia, in our country. There are 78,000 companies involved in tourism, and a little bit more than 1 million accommodation places. The market attracts 38 million tourists, both international and domestic, whose total expenditure is around 24,200 million euros. Catalonia is visited by 19 million international tourists per year, putting us in an important position worldwide. We receive more international tourists than the Netherlands, Hungary, Poland, Croatia, Cyprus, Portugal, Denmark, the Scandinavian nations, South Korea, Indonesia, the Philippines, Singapore, Vietnam, Australia, New Zealand, India, and Sri Lanka. In fact, we welcome more international tourists than any country in South America, Central America, or the Caribbean. And in the Americas, only the USA and Mexico exceed our figures, and we are on the same level as Canada. We receive more international tourists than any country in the Middle East. Worldwide, we are 19th on the ranking, and in terms, and that's more important, of revenue, we are on the 18th place. France, the United Kingdom, Germany, and Italy together account 52% of our international visitors. And some of 40% of the whole year's tourism takes place between June and September, so there is a strong seasonality in our activity. It is driving force behind the economy. Every 100 euros spent in the tourism sector generates 73 euros in other productive sectors. As you know, tourism, like any other economic activity, has positive effects, along with others that are not quite so positive. In the case of tourism, however, the positive outweighs the negatives, and we must manage this complexity rather than simply condemn the industry at the first sight of travel. I'm very concerned about the stigmatization of tourism and also some superficial approaches which fail to recognize the complexity involved in managing this sector. Not to mention the measures which are supposedly need to resolve a problem which ultimately could lead to even worse problems in the medium term. Our societies today are diverse, complex, and dynamic. And this complexity does not make things easy. And there are no magic solutions. But the idea of good governance is that it should allow us to steer things rigorously because it's the only way we can do things. I want to reiterate, good governance must also be able to be defined and administered from a consistent, participatory, open, effective, responsible, simplified, and knowledge-based approach rather than from a narrow-minded standpoint. As the government of Catalonia, we proudly uphold the sector with tools such as our strategic plan and the marketing plan, with an annual program of promotional plan that contribute to improving our competitiveness across the region as a whole, with the dissemination and support of the marketing stemming from the activities of the Catalan Tourist Board, and with the impetus of knowledge, research, and innovation in order to guarantee the optimum progress of the industry, not only today, but also with a view to the future. All in all, it must allow us to continue taking advantage of the enormous opportunities that arise from this sector, correcting everything that needs to be corrected, but building societies in which tourism, among other factors, will help to make them more open, more receptive to change, more innovative, and more tolerant. Let me start now with the challenges. I mentioned it a moment ago that we are facing new times, new contexts, and new scenarios. And it is within this framework that we have to interpret and to understand the challenges that we need to confront as a sector. I'm talking about challenges that go beyond the situation in Catalonia, our country, the challenges that essentially face the industry as a whole. The challenge of security, as you can see on the slide. The Mediterranean is a hotspot of instability that spreads its tentacles worldwide. We simply need to look at the events of the last 18 years. Since 2001, from 11 September terrorist attacks in New York, through the attacks in Barcelona or in Cambrils, and everything that was involved in the Arab Spring movement, we find ourselves in a considerable, more dangerous situation, or not so safety. We are very close to that hot spot. And although it's true that the threat is a global one, we could find that the perception of safety or the lack thereof significantly affects the current flows of tourism. The challenge of growing competition and the challenge of growth. Global tourism will continue to expand. The UN WTO forecast a volume of around 1.8 billion international tourists by 2030, at a cumulative growth rate of 3.3% per year. But when you look at the emerging economies, especially the Asia and the Pacific ones, that growth rate will be 4.4% per year, double that of more advanced economies. The market share of emerging economies in 1980 was 30%, but by 2030 it will be 57%. We will continue to grow. The correlation coefficient between the available per capita income in OECD countries and the increase in the number of international tourism in Catalonia is very high. That means that just remaining the same, we will be looking at around 35 million tourists in 2030. Even if we only look at the maintaining our current quota, 1.5% of the total tourism in the world, that will put us at 28 million tourists by the same date. The challenge is how to manage this growth. The challenge of socio-demographic changes. In the next 20 years, the vast majority of our customers will have been born between 1975 and 2015. Are we stable, equipped to serve them? Do we understand them properly? A very considerable number of them will be part of a generation that is completely different to our one. That aspects will determine their consumer habits. For example, a crisis in the welfare state as we know it today, lower available income, a low-cost society, consumers who are highly demanding but at the same time price sensitive, extreme connectivity, changes in conventional family structures, and so on. That's the new socio-demographic environment. The challenge of technology and innovation. What is the current panorama facing the sector today? Meta search engines with growth rates much higher than conventional online travel agencies, better inform customers, artificial intelligence that will predict our needs before even we express them, platforms that will turn us into opinion leaders, augmented reality, new online brokerage systems, reputation management, interpretation of natural language, big data, in-depth knowledge of customer needs, and greater personalization, open source data, mobile environments, virtual and immersive reality, permanent interaction with customers in the quest for greater loyalty, the Internet of Things, gamification, the concentration of large marketing platforms that reduce the number of actors in the market and lead to oligopolistic markets, the collaboration economy, and many more. Let's remember that innovation is generated in environments that facilitate entrepreneurship, creativity, collaboration, connectivity, and interrelationships. The challenge, for sure, of sustainability. Unfortunately, this is perhaps a concept that, due to its overuse, has become trivialized. Yet we must be capable of recovering its true meaning and implementing it clearly when defining our policies. We must therefore pursue the following: social sustainability, a balance between the needs of tourists and the needs of residents; culture sustainability, tourism that helps to boost our culture with concealing it or folklorizing it; environmental sustainability, tourism that can help to make the preservation of natural spaces economically sustainable at the same time; economic sustainability, tourism which, thanks to its cross-cutting effect, helps to drive trade, for example, in the agri-food sector or between the cultural industries. The challenge of knowledge. As I said, tourism is as an industry is still relatively young if we compare to other productive sectors. It has often developed spontaneously based on the pioneering and entrepreneurial nature of those who became involved in it. This may have been useful for a time, but for a long time now, this approach has not been enough. We are dealing with an even more complex and sophisticated industry in terms of its management, and it is necessary for information, intelligence, and knowledge to imbue the sector, facilitating the definition of strategies and providing a foundation for competitiveness. We need market research, market intelligence, knowledge of trends, and in particular, information about competition. We need to look further afield where others are not yet looking. If we don't take this path in the medium and long term, we will be lost. The challenge of the public sector's role. The administration, the public sector, must understand that it needs to take on the role of facilitator for economic activity at every level, local, regional, statewide, and European. The escalation of laws and regulations is having a paralyzing effect on business, affecting the competitiveness of our companies. All Europe needs to understand that some of the protectionist, defensive paradigms have to be reconsidered in the same way that we are witnessing events that make us think that the Scandinavian style welfare state is in crisis. It has to react in order to tackle other emerging economies that are far less regulated. Centrality with regard to leadership has moved towards the middle and the far east, as you know. Europe is becoming a peripheral power, something that perhaps it's not entirely aware of. The challenge of governance. Governance, as a new public management tool, is a term that has taken root in the narrative of the last few years, but its boundaries are not very well defined. We see the concept explained in different ways depending on the organization that has established its own definition or the ideological position of the academic who analyze it. But we also see now, over the years, the concept itself has mutated. The overuse of the term, like sustainability, has caused a certain trivialization of the concept of governance. We need to understand tourism as a broad system which encompasses actors that represent different realities: private management companies, public administrations, local citizens, and, I would like to add, the tourists themselves. Our strategies, particularly good governance, must be able to be defined and managed, as I said, from a consistent, participatory, open, effective, responsible, simplified, and knowledge-based approach. And to conclude, the model. In view of everything I have spoken about, what kind of tourism model do we need in Catalonia? We need a powerful tourism sector that forms an important part of the economic structure of the country, generating opportunities and wealth and extremely supported by the public sector. An industry whose development is defined in terms of the criteria of environmental, economic, social, and cultural sustainability, a model that generates quality employment with fair remuneration, a model that facilitates the decentralization of tourism towards the inland and stimulates regional rebalance, yet one that continues to celebrate the extraordinary asset of the Catalan coast and the power exerted by the city of Barcelona, a model that envisages the diversity of the region and the strength of its tourist destinations, a model that considers the revenue generated rather than the number of tourists, a model that makes excellence, innovation, and knowledge the essential cornerstones of the sector competitiveness, giving rise to smart tourism, a model that stimulates governance systems in which participation is very much taken into account, a model that also generates opportunities for other productive sectors, a model that can develop in a harmonious way with the region and its residents. And finally, a model that values the impact of a more economistic type of tourism, yet which also values tourism with a more social component, a model that fosters contact between people, better mutual knowledge, and a greater tolerance. So thank you very much for your attention. Xie xie, chai qian.
Well, thank you very much, Octavi, for a great explanation of the situation of tourism in Catalonia and the challenges that we have to get it, to go on these challenges. Thank you very much. Okay, now, ¿tienes alguna pregunta?
Así ya las podem atendre, sí.
Yes. If you have any questions, I'm sure that Octavi will answer pleasantly. It's your turn. Maybe the students, that they are the future. Maybe the oh, great.
I have a question for Mr. Octavi Bono. So I know there are a lot of tourism from all the world. And you also mentioned the public sector. So I want to know the local people, what's their attitude about tourism? And tourists always spread in the city, in a square or a street. They occupy the space. So what's the attitude of the
I think it's a good question.
Yeah, it's a good one. Yeah, it's a good question. I have to say that it depends. Yeah, in life, very often things are depending of many factors. Catalonia is a small country, and if we compare with China, it's a neighborhood. But the tourism activity is important, but it's not developed everywhere in the same way and with the same kind of reactions or effects. So if we just take a look to Barcelona city, sometimes the reaction is, wow, tourism is growing, what's happening with the public space, with the public areas, what's happening with the prices of the housing prices or rentals and so on. And sometimes the reaction is against the activity. In certain parts of the city, not everywhere. But I was trying to explain in my speech that we need to manage things properly, not just with reactions, or we need to manage not from the heart but from the mind. For example, if you ask me, is there any effect on prices on housing prices because of tourism activity? I have to say, yes, it must be. But look, now we are at the same level than in 2007. And at that time, with the same level of prices, we don't talk about tourism. Now we are talking about tourism like the main reason. If we take a look to the offer, in Barcelona, we have 825,000 flats with different uses, mainly houses for people. 1.2% are tourist houses. All the problems that we have in terms of housing is because this 1-2%, for sure, there is an incidence of that, but is the main one, is the only one, and I have to say not. Because the complexity of the problem is higher, and if we have to take a look for a solution, we have to understand this complexity. Complex problems don't have easy solutions. And to say just tourism is the main effect on the main reason, I think is not to be closer to the reality. It's a reason, for sure. There is pressure from the sector to these other kind of situations, but is the only one reason? I have to say not. And then, if you don't manage properly the explanation, the concept, the reasons, then the reaction of the people could be, wow, against the tourism, because tourism is the main one. But in the rest of the country, tourism is even more important than in Barcelona in global, Costa Dorada south, Costa Brava north, even the Pyrenees during the winter season, and there is no reaction in the same way that you have seen in Barcelona. I insist, complex problems don't have simply solutions.
More question? Tolgo.
Good morning. First of all, thank you for your interesting conference. It was really, really interesting. I only want to ask about the situation in the UK, that we currently say Brexit. Did you estimate which will be the effects that Catalonia will suffer due to this Brexit situation?
Mm-hmm. Well, we are following from last Christmas. Every 2 weeks, or in summer we did that every week, every month. We are following the reaction of the market. I have to say that our expectation was that the effect was worse than the one we saw. We have information coming from different sources. We are analyzing the process of bookings of 2,800 agencies in the UK, and also we are analyzing the offer of seats coming from the airline companies every 2 weeks, and between July and September, once a month. And what we saw is the capacity in terms of seats is not very different from the one of the same period last year. And that's a key thing, because the risk in terms of economical effect is very, very high when you are putting on the market an amount of seats on offer. So if the companies are evaluating the risk in this way and keeping the same level of seats, that means that there is a certain level of confidence till today. In terms of bookings and the number of clients that have been coming from that country, North Ireland and the rest of the UK, in the first 7 months of the year, we saw that it's a little bit lower than last year. But our expectation, I insist, was worse. And around this, we add, because it was not enough, something. We add the situation of Thomas Cook last week. I think that the British will be traveling even in the worst process of the Brexit, because they are one of the biggest markets in the world, and they need to travel abroad because of the conditions of weather and because they historical habits and so on. Perhaps we are afraid of the evolution of the currency. That could be the main thing. Waiting for the end of October, we will see finally what we will find from the end of October, and what kind of evolution the pound could have in the future. But summarizing, 2019, the situation has been better than the one we expected, and that's curious because we were expecting a worse reaction of the market. Okay. Mm-hmm. It's the second international market in Catalonia, so it's really important in terms.
Is French.
Yeah, the first is France, then the British.
Any other question?
Thank you for your presentation today. I have a question. You said one of the challenges you posted in your speech was safety.
Yeah.
Yeah, safety. From my research, I studied many Chinese tourism. They have many companies about the safety of the city. So do you have some solution to save this problem?
Yeah. Look, when I was talking about security or safety, perhaps not was with thinking about the some robberies or pickpockets in the city. It was from a more geopolitical point of view and affecting not just our destinations, the Catalan destinations, but also the Mediterranean in global and other parts of the world. But if we just take a look and we focus just in Barcelona, we have to say that figures are saying that perhaps there is a a low increase of this kind of situations in the city. That's true. But at the same time, if we compare with other cities similar in terms of size and in terms of the dimension of tourism activity in these other cities, the situation of Barcelona is not higher. It's similar. And in my opinion, we have been talking about this, not just because the situation, perhaps there are other political reasons around this debate in the last few weeks. And for sure, I insist, if we compare figures between month by month and the previous period last year, there is a low increase. We need some changes, not just in terms of policy on the streets. We need some changes in terms of regulation, because there are certain situations that we cannot support. If someone is arrested for 3 or 4, 7 times, it's important to finally avoid those kind of people again doing the same on the streets. But we need to change the law in this sense. And there are other social measures in order to balance those kinds of behaviors and situations. But I insist, even if figures are a little bit higher than last year, if we compare with the situation with the main tourist cities all over the world, I have to say that Barcelona is a safe place, and that's obvious. That's obvious. And you must take care of your belongings like everywhere, but Barcelona is not the Far West. Okay.
The last one.
Thank you very much for your presentation. And as you mentioned earlier, that you don't seem to be worried about the growth of the market in Catalonia area, but more about the management of the massive arrival of tourists.
I'm worried about that. I'm relaxed, but I'm worried.
What's your attitude towards the emerging markets like China and Far East? Do you want all of them to come, or you want only the elite level of them?
No. Quality is not just your capacity to spend money. That's not quality, in my opinion. It's important because one of our aims is also to increase the money people spend here. That's sure. But our idea of quality is to provide a product or a service giving the answer to your expectations. That's quality. My expectations are here. What I receive is this. It's okay. That's quality. Even if you just pay €2 for a cortado or for a coffee, okay? The coffee must be the best coffee you can take ever. So if we think just in quality in terms of 5 stars, that's just a part of the market. And for sure it's interesting. But in our plan, in our strategic plan, when we think about quality, we think about the whole system and to guarantee the expectations of the clients, each at their own level. No? That's our idea. On the other hand, people from South Korea, from China, are very welcome. Look, for example, the States, the United States. The United States, it's providing the same level of expenses here than the French market, the same level with just a third of the people. That's important. But the idea is not to avoid the French market. The idea is to improve also the same market, the French market, at the level they can offer to us. Because for a lot of companies in our country, the French market, it's very, very, very important. Even the capacity in terms of spending money, it's lower. So we welcome these new markets from India, from China, from South Korea, from the States, which is today very, very, very important. But to improve the destination is not just to think with this highest part of our demand.
Okay. Thank you very much, and thank you very much to answer all the questions. That they are very interesting, and we have more topics. But Octavi has to go now.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, and then we need to continue our conference.
Thank
you very much.